Some debts feel mathematically impossible. You look at the numbers, the interest keeps growing, and no matter how much you pay, the balance barely moves. For millions of people, debt becomes something that feels permanent. But every once in a while, someone breaks the pattern. Someone pays off $30,000, $50,000, even six-figure debt faster than anyone thought possible. And here's the strange part. Most of the time, they didn't win the lottery. They didn't suddenly double their income, and they didn't invent some genius investment strategy. Instead, they used unusual tactics that completely changed how their debt worked against them. Some of these strategies even look wrong at first glance, but they've helped thousands of people erase debts that once looked impossible. And the first one is so counterintuitive. Financial experts argued about it for years. Most financial advice says the same thing. Pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first. It sounds logical, but thousands of people did the exact opposite. And somehow, it worked better. This strategy is known as the debt snowball. Instead of attacking the highest interest debt first, you start with the smallest balance. Even if the interest rate is lower, at first, that seems irrational. Why ignore the expensive debt? Because the real battle isn't just math, it's psychology. Here's how it works. You make minimum payments on every debt. But you throw every extra dollar at the smallest balance. Once that debt disappears, you take the payment you were making and roll it into the next smallest debt, then the next, and the next. Each victory builds momentum. People suddenly see balances disappear, and that small psychological boost keeps them going. Some personal finance researchers found that people using this method were more likely to stay consistent, which ultimately led to more debts being eliminated. In other words, winning small battles helped them win the entire war. And for many people, drowning in debt, that momentum changed everything. But not everyone approaches debt this way, because the next strategy does the exact opposite. Some people believe if you're going to fight debt, you should attack the most dangerous part first. This strategy is called the debt avalanche. Instead of starting with the smallest balance, you target the highest interest rate. Credit cards charging 20%, 25%, sometimes even higher. These debts grow faster than most people realize. If left alone, they can quietly double over time. So Avalanche followers focus every extra dollar on the most expensive debt, while making minimum payments on the rest. Mathematically, this method often saves thousands in interest, but it can feel slower emotionally, because sometimes the highest interest debt is also the largest balance, which means you might work for months before seeing that first victory. Still, many people swear by it, and in some cases, the interest savings are dramatic enough to shave years off a repayment timeline. But one couple took things even further. They didn't just change the strategy, they changed their entire lifestyle. And what happened next shocked everyone around them. In one widely shared story, a couple found themselves buried under $43,000 in debt. Credit cards, bills, loans. The balance felt overwhelming. For years, they made the usual payments, hoping things would slowly improve. But the numbers barely moved. So they made a radical decision. For 1 year, they treated their financial situation like an emergency. They cut nearly every non-essential expense. Dining out disappeared. Subscriptions vanished. Vacations were paused, and every extra dollar they could find went straight to debt. But they didn't stop there. They also increased their income. Extra shifts, side jobs, weekend work. For months, their schedule looked intense, but the results were shocking. Within 7 months, the entire $43,000 balance was gone. Friends thought it was impossible. But their strategy worked because they created a temporary window where every financial decision pointed toward one goal, freedom from debt. And once they reached it, they slowly rebuilt their lifestyle again. But another group of people discovered something surprising. Before paying down debt aggressively, they actually started by saving money, which sounds completely backwards. Most people assume the first step to escaping debt is obvious. Throw every spare dollar at the balance. But many financial experts warn that this approach has a hidden danger, emergencies. Because when something unexpected happens, a car repair, medical bill, or sudden expense, people without savings often end up using credit again, which means the debt cycle continues. That's why some advisors suggest starting with a small emergency fund first, even just a few hundred or $1,000. It creates a buffer. Now, when life throws a surprise expense your way, you don't immediately fall deeper into debt. and that small cushion can make a massive difference. People who build this safety net often stay consistent longer because setbacks no longer reset their progress. But the final strategy might be the most surprising of all, because it involves something many people don't even realize they can do. Negotiate. Most people believe debt is fixed. You borrowed the money, so you must repay exactly what the statement says. But in reality, the financial world is more flexible than it appears. Many borrowers have successfully negotiated lower interest rates, payment plans, or temporary relief when facing financial stress. Sometimes all it takes is calling the lender and asking about hardship programs. In certain cases, interest has been reduced or temporarily paused, giving borrowers breathing room to regain control. There are even situations where debt settlements occur, where borrowers repay a portion of the balance in exchange for resolving the account. Now, these outcomes vary and should always be approached carefully. But what they reveal is something important. Debt systems aren't always as rigid as they seem, and people who understand the rules often find ways to reduce the pressure. But when you step back and look at all 5 strategies together, something interesting appears, because none of them rely on luck. The people who escape massive debt usually don't do it with a single miracle trick. Instead, they combine several powerful ideas: momentum from small wins, smart math that minimizes interest, temporary lifestyle sacrifices, emergency buffers that prevent setbacks, and sometimes simply asking lenders for flexibility. When those pieces come together, something surprising happens. Balances that once looked impossible begin to shrink, month by month, payment by payment, until eventually, the number that once felt overwhelming becomes 0. And if there's one lesson that keeps showing up in stories like these, it's this: debt doesn't disappear overnight, but the moment someone learns the right strategies, the path out suddenly becomes visible. And if you enjoy learning about the hidden systems behind money, wealth, and financial freedom, make sure you stick around and subscribe, because the next video dives into the financial habits that quietly keep millions of people broke without them even realizing it. Once you see them, you'll never look at money the same way again.